Yeah, welcome to the podcast. I have been reflecting on voice dialogue and world peace. And the uh, the reason how this started is I was really triggered by some news I read in the newspaper, um, where yeah, it stated that civilians going for food in the Gaza area um, were killed and shot. And then I read the whole report in the Haaretz paper that actually soldiers were giving the order to shoot people that come for the food. And that really triggered something in me. Already it had been cooking, but this was really something. And I became aware my activist self was really there. I feel I need to take action, especially regarding our own government in the Netherlands that has been supplying, you know, uh, weapons and um, to Israel, and so we are in a way accomplice. So it triggered my activist self, um, and I reflected on it, and I would like to share some of that with you. Okay. So along that thread, my earliest memory of the world peace activist is when I was 5 years old. We were living at the time, we were living in Toronto, in Canada, and in the neighborhood where we lived, um, there were some kind of youth gangs operating. They were throwing stones, and somehow I got in the middle of all that, and then this voice came up, and I said to the whatever the folk, we shouldn't make war. We don't make war. And in hindsight, I think that's a really strange remark for a 5-year-old. But I felt that strong voice, like almost like an archetype, world peace, and that has been coming back in my life at several occasions. And there was a period when I was really activist when I was in high school and in the 70s in the Netherlands. And there were demonstrations against the war in Vietnam, against the positioning of nuclear warheads in Holland and Western Europe. So I was active in that movement. And at some point, I turned more inward. But this activist part was really there. And if I look now also back, I can relate it to my mother. My mother passed away a few years at the age of 102. Um, but she was, when the Second World War started, um, she was so, upset about the fact that Jewish people were taken away and without knowing exactly at that time what was their fate. But that she then, at young age, she joined the resistance movement in the Netherlands. So talking about activism, she was really risking her life. A lot of the people in her group were actually killed. Um, and she herself ended up in Ravensbrück, one of the camps, and later in Dachau. And she barely survived. And that, of course, had an enormous mark on herself and, in a way, on her children, my younger brother, and myself. There was never spoken about this. And at old age, after, when she was in her late 80s, the first time she spoke about this, and later she became a well-known Dutch spokesperson at the age of 1995, and met the king and everything, and got a knighthood. Um, anyway, so this was really maybe it runs in the family, the activist side and the world peace side, and I'm sure at this time she would be also very upset about the things that are happening now, especially when our country is involved in some way. Yeah, so speaking about this, what can voice dialogue do? Um, After my activist period, I had a period of going more, looking at who am I, and did several courses and meditation and Gestalt psychology and all kinds of psychology and courses, and then um, I got into voice dialogue at the age of 27. And this was really my path. I went to the US, United States, to get a master's degree in psychology. And there, the work of Voice Dialogue of Hell and Sidra Stone is based on Jungian psychology. And yeah, so a very important part of that work is to find out about your own dark side, the instinctive energies when they go sour. Hellstone used to say they would turn demonic in the sense that natural instincts like sexuality, power, authority, they can, physical strength, when they're not integrated, they can turn sour and can be projected. Other people are the devil. Other ethnic groups are, evil. And so it was very important for us in that training program to find out about these selves and to find out about the anti-Semitic selves. Like there were a lot of Jewish people in that study group in that academy, and also Jewish people have an anti-Semitic voice. And so to find the inner racist, very important. And yeah, to know about these parts. In Los Angeles, the people had these projections on the Mexicans. Here in Holland, it's often on the Moroccan youth or the second generation Moroccan youth. And they're attributed all these terrible things, whereas the reality is that most of them are really well integrated and contribute to our society. So, um, yeah, you could say that from that perspective, voice dialogue as a tool for self-knowledge, not only as a therapeutic tool or coaching tool, but a tool for self-knowledge, um, when it is applied, on a large scale, can help world peace, because people will not need to project their disowned selves, the parts of themselves that they have not integrated, on other groups. And Jung speaks about the monster pool of the world. Huh? All these suppressed energies, they wait for a moment to burst out against a group, in the Second World War in Germany, against Jewish people. Now a lot of them against Muslim people in Holland. Um, and whatever, could be any group, depending on where you live. So knowing about yourselves is so important. And then the parkour in voice dialogue is, first of all, find out about your own uh, primary selves. These are also often a blind spot. We don't know what is a primary self. We are not aware of our, let's say, the whiteness. We take things for granted. And there's nowadays a lot of intercultural trainings where that is addressed. Um, to find out our primary self, to find out how much comfort it gives to us, to find out how the primary selves, our rules, our culture, how that also serves as a protection for our own vulnerability. So it's so important to learn about the vulnerability, to feel safe, to feel accepted, to feel covered, and to have enough space for expression. And our primary selves, try to provide that. And of course, when we do it collectively, we create a village, a town, a group where we feel safe and supported. And then everything that's different from that, when we don't take care of our vulnerability, may trigger our fears. Okay. So this whole work on integrating the vulnerability, becoming aware of the primary self, it's already a big job. But then the next step And nowadays, I really address that in my groups. The next step is find out about all these dark sides. Find out about the racist in you. Find out about the for the men, the part that hates women. For the women, the part that hates men. And all these not so nice selves. Once they get some air, it's so liberating. Um, yeah. So far, this has been going on in the voice dialogue groups all over the world. And what I would wish is actually that this is part of our educational system, that from young age, let's say teenage years or maybe earlier even, people learn about the self, people learn about these processes for self-knowledge. And it may be very idealistic, but in the long run, if these kind of programs are implemented in schools, in universities, on the work floor, this will contribute to world peace because people are less inclined to project things. I know in the Dutch police, system, they have courses now to meet the inner racist, and not to promote racism, but to, in fact, um, to neutralize racism by recognizing it. And yeah, so this is my hope for the long run for world peace, to explore your belief system, to not identify with anything. These are all selves, even these religious voices that are so important and can be so destructive. They are also selves, trying to help us find safety and protection. But they can be so destructive when they are aimed against other people of another group who are deemed less, whether they are black or have another belief system. So my big wish for the world is to all learn to embrace these different selves. And yeah, and of course we have tools to do that. We have the tools. The tools are there. Wouldn't it be great if there's an enormous sum of this, instead of going to the war industry or alongside to also develop programs for prevention like this? Thank you.